Brooke, how's it going today?
It's going well. Just got back from vacation down in Bethany Beach, Delaware. So feeling really refreshed and yeah, ready to get after it.
Awesome. Well, we're joined by Matt today. Matt, welcome. I think this is going to be a pretty fun one because we got some pretty interesting perspectives and just kind of where you've got to today. But maybe some people listening don't know you, don't know Matt, don't know Cozy. So would you mind just giving maybe a brief background of you, how you got into the space, and then how specifically you built Cozy Vacation Rentals?
Yeah. Thanks, you guys for having me, and I was excited to be here. So my name is Matt Durrette, owner of Cozy Vacation Rentals, owner, operator, CEO. I've been doing this now for about 10 years. Started in Baltimore, Maryland, originally renting out a couple homes, and now I am here in the Texas Hill Country, just south of Austin, Texas, north of San Antonio, where we manage over 300 properties and homes here for all of our homeowners, Texas Hill Country. So it's been a very unique, very interesting, amazing, hard journey with a lot of successes, failures, and very different, I think, from a lot of folks who kind of start out in that one market. But for me, coming from that urban area, and then now I'm in a drive to tourism market in a very different part of the country.
Yeah, I guess we'll definitely dig into that a little bit more. But how'd you get connected with Brooke originally and Vintory originally? Just out of curiosity, was it in Baltimore or was it when you came down to Fredericksburg?
So it was actually at a conference where it was about just right before COVID. It was in 2019 at the international conference there in New Orleans. Heard about Vintory. We were really looking to grow our inventory, and at that time we were looking to grow our inventory both on the East Coast, and we were in several different markets to include Baltimore, and then also we were just starting to grow at that point in Texas. And we had not found a unique solution. How can we actually go after inventory and target owners? So we actually started talking with them in 2019, and I thought it was one of those things that was kind of too good to be true. And when you first heard about it, but it actually genuinely works, and it's been a game changer for our company.
Yeah, right on. Well, Brooke, what do you think? Should we dive kind of into the mistakes and some learnings from Matt here, or any other fun stories about how you guys got connected?
No, it's just Matt's been a great partner. He's one of our early partners. I think he's partner number 56, and we're about to surpass over 600 partners on our platform right now. So he's been loyal. He's been a great partner, and we've worked really well together. And just such a pleasure working with him and helping him grow his inventory down there in Texas Hill Country. I had the pleasure of actually going on site and meeting him, meeting his wife, meeting his small little child, and just a great time and great market. So looking forward to this one for sure.
Yeah, no, I can second all those things other than the visit. I guess I'll have to make my way out there one day, Matt. But
you have to come out here. We'd love to have you.
Yeah, no, my wife would enjoy it. Awesome. Well, I have the mistakes here, so I would love to kind of go through each one line by line. Some feel familiar to me. Some are definitely ones that I don't think we've talked about before. So great to get your perspective on things. And obviously what you built is super impressive here. So the first mistake that we had was waiting entirely too long to leave your full-time cushy job in pursuit of your own successful proven business model, knowing that you weren't happy in that full-time job. So I think we've kind of heard some variations of that, but I'd love to kind of hear what was the reason that you did finally make that decision, what kind of spurred you into that action, and brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, I waited about 5.5 years of doing vacation rental, short-term rentals to leave my full-time job, and it was truly out of fear, kind of the fear of that unknown, leaving a six-figure job that I had worked in defense contracting with Grumman, moving up kind of that corporate ladder. They paid for grad school. It's what I knew, and it was that comfortable aspect, and it was it was guaranteed, right? There was no what ifs, and I knew if I kept staying there where I would kind of end up over the next 15, 20 years. But I also knew that I did not like working for other people, and I really enjoyed the entrepreneurial aspect and really starting my own business. And it was being able to be comfortable to take that risk. I wish I had done it sooner, because the amount of opportunity, the amount of time that I could actually have focused on the business, it's just invaluable. You don't realize that because it truly was a position of fear and being scared. But I actually left my job 2 weeks before my wife and I got married, actually here in Texas. And so, we went to the wedding and everyone thought I was unemployed. They had no idea, what I actually did. And it's very hard to explain, oh, Matt manages a bunch of Airbnbs. But I knew at that point that when I left, I'm thankful I kind of left at the right time. But looking back at it now, I wish I would have done it sooner, because the differences that I could have made over, let's say, even leaving two years sooner with what I could have put into the business, and what the returns could have been that I already had would have been, invaluable. So I wish I would have done it sooner and taken that jump of fear, because I learned more and made so many mistakes by failing right after I left my full-time job that it propelled me even faster to figure it out and get things right. And there's that, when you're stressed a little bit, somehow the human body and just your mind, you figure things out really quickly when you're put into and back into a corner in situations. And it's somehow, when you overcome that, you always end up better on the other side.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know, Matt, I think, Jed Stevens, he said the exact same thing. So Jed was a full-time engineer when he started managing a bunch of properties out in Kauai. And his quote was, not fully committing sooner to the process of building our business. He said, we sat on the fence for years before we went all in. And that was when things finally started gaining momentum for us. So you and Jed had some common parallels there in kind of the corporate America.
And it's hard to have a lot of success if you're not giving it all of your attention and all of your time. Like obviously you scaled to a certain level, Matt, by not putting every single waking moment into it. But like you said, the moment you were able to do that, it went from, really good to awesome and all this growth. So I think there's a lot to learn from that. Awesome. Well, okay. Number 2 here, kind of turning the page a bit, operating from a position of fear. I know you mentioned that a moment ago, but we can kind of dive into the specifics of it, in a big or critical business decision versus taking action to address and fix the situation from a position of strength. So maybe walk me through this one a little bit. Is it just kind of like, is that just more of a confidence thing, Matt, or is there more to it than that as far as action taking versus being more scared?
I don't think it's more of a confidence thing. I think that you invest into a way of doing things for so long. You've always done things a certain way, or there's a way that your business has continued to operate it, or it has operated. And when there's a critical decision that needs to be made, it's you think about all the risks. You continually, you think about the risks, you think about the rewards, and a lot of times the risk is it really prevents you from trying to go after it and make that change that's needed to path your company. And it's kind of that unknown. Well, if I make this decision, what are going to be the consequences that's going to hurt our business in several different ways? And we were at a position last year where we had to let go of a critical person of our company that was not in the plan. And we were really operating from a decision of fear where we didn't want to, because we had assumed that this individual is so ingrained into our company. And we thought about, what if, what are our employees and staff going to think? What are homeowners going to think? And we just continued to not make that decision. And then finally, we ultimately did, and our company has been thriving even more, than it was. But at the end of the day, we never made those decisions because we continued to operate from that position of fear. And it wasn't a confidence factor. It was, is this change going to affect our company so drastically that is this the wrong or right decision? But when we look back on it, it was, we should have operated from a position of strength, because our company, where it took us 6 months after that to get back on track to where we should have been. But it again, not a confidence thing, really just when there's problems, don't let those problems prevent you from making the right choice. And that's really going to propel your company forward.
I know, Brooke, we've talked about like putting the right people in the right seats, but sometimes that person that you might think is the right person in the right seat ends up revealing that that's not the case later on. Without being too specific, that's my kind of general understanding of what happened. Maybe Brooke, was anyone else kind of talking more about that? I know we talked a lot about people and recruiting and getting the right people, but sometimes you have to let people go, even if they were once a good fit, they don't always stay that way forever, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's what do they call it? The 36 hours of suck. It sucks for 36 hours, getting rid of that person that you got to get rid of. But then after that, it's your life is so much easier. But it definitely sucks for a short period of time.
Yeah. Right on. Well, let's maybe go to the next one. I think there's kind of a parallel there between the position of fear and then the team members piece. So allowing team members to stay in the wrong roles and assuming that since a team member or an employee did a fantastic job in a certain position, a prior position, they would also be a great fit in a different department or a different role, only to be disappointed and then no longer have this person be a part of the team because they didn't excel at that new role. It just wasn't maybe part of their skill set, or they didn't fit into that role. So we talked about like good to great, I think, a few times on previous recordings, Brooke, and it's like right person, right seat. Is that kind of what you think happened here a little bit, Matt? Like maybe right person in this seat, but then we moved him over to this side of the bus and it didn't go quite as smoothly. What'd you learn from that?
Well, and a lot is owed to you, here, Brooke, as well, of learning this and you being a mentor, not only from Vintory, but just as an individual, because before actually going forward with Vintory, never had we implemented EOS. Never have we implemented things such as culture indexing. And we would constantly, oh, here's a problem. Let's go put someone on that problem instead of putting the right process, the right procedure, the right, technology solution, the right efficiency solution. And that has been a constant failure and weakness for me in the past, where, okay, hey, I've got this individual who's over here, she's doing great in customer service or great at property management. Now let's go take this person and let's go put them on a project management job because they did so great over here. Let's go take them and put them over here because they're already going to do great because they did great over here. The problem is the core functions and requirements of the new position that I just moved them to do not match that individual in the way they scientifically work and what motivates them. It actually, what I have now done is take a person who's so successful and she's actually in that right role, and I've now moved he or she into another role where they are automatically set up for failure. And then you're left with the choice in 6 months to a year where you put them in that wrong position. And now you actually have to let them go because there's no other position for them in the company. And so you had a great resource, a great person for your culture who was already a good fit in another role, and you went and moved them all the way over here. And for me, EOS has changed all of that. So has culture indexing, all of our folks, making sure we know that the right person is in the right seats. It's been invaluable. And I have not made that mistake in over about a year and a half, which is a very, very long time going. And we no longer hire without understanding that person scientifically and where they should fit for a specific role.
And I know another piece of EOS, Brooke, I don't think we've talked about it too much with previous people on these recordings, but it's like, what does it get it? Want to have the capacity to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some elements of what you said there too, Matt, where it's like,
Yeah.
maybe someone even gets what they need to do. Maybe even they want to do it. But then that last piece can be the tricky one sometimes in my experience too. It's like they wanted to do it, but they can't, like literally just don't have the capacity. Then you're kind of up a paddle, or up a creek without a paddle, sorry, which can put you in a tough spot. For sure.
But we GWC everyone in every role.
Yeah. And if one of those three things is off, it doesn't work. Yeah, for sure.
Yep. Correct.
Awesome. Okay. Well, important learnings there. Let's head on, turning the page here to number 4. So not truly understanding how critical company values and culture are, love that word, to the organization. Without them, your company will fail 100% or struggle in the long term. And then furthermore, realizing that the company values that we instilled across the company do truly come from owners' core beliefs and values. And I would say the one thing maybe I would add on there, I'm curious your thoughts on it, Matt, is the actions of the owner. Because the owner can say and put on a piece of paper, here's what we value and here's what we care about. But then if the owner doesn't act in alignment with those values, it doesn't work. But I imagine you learned from that and those things kind of all tying together.
Yeah, and this has been one that I've learned really the hard way. Because even when I was in corporate America at Northrop Grumman, they preach all the values, et cetera, but not owning that company, not being, you always felt kind of a part of your certain team and who you worked for. You never really felt part of the bigger, broader organization. I'll be very honest with that. And I never took values, to be honest, that seriously. And then when we went to go set up the company and really start to build a property management company the right way and do things correctly, we set up our business plan. Oh, what values do we think we want our business, right? Oh, this looks great on our website. This looks great in our marketing material, but we weren't living, breathing, following this organization whatsoever until we set up EOS. And EOS and going down that path really forced us to relook at, why are we Cozy Vacation Rentals? What is the goal of Cozy Vacation Rentals? What is our objective? And what are we here to do each and every day for our employees, our guests, and our homeowners? And how do we truly reset values and follow them each day and have the company follow those each day? And when we went down that process, it wasn't just another set it and forget exercise. It was about a 2-month exercise where I struggled with it. Scott Hyman, who's our CTO and co-owner, we really went back and forth on it. So did my wife Jenna, who's a co-owner with us as well. And really at the very end of it, those values actually came from my wife, myself, Scott, of what we believe in and what our values are and where the why of what our company is. And then we instilled processes across our entire company so that we reset the expectations of why we're here and what the true goal and objectives of Cozy because vacation rentals is and where we're going over the next 1, 3, and 5 years, and how we're going to follow and revisit those values, not only daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, but yearly. And it has made a massive difference. I can walk around the office now and ask everyone what our values are, and everyone can repeat them immediately, versus prior, you couldn't get one person a year and a half ago to tell me what my own company values were. And when I walk into the office, I can look at not only on the wall, I can look at our entire incentive program that follows our company values. And not only do I feel good and confident, but it truly allows me to love this company again, because we really instilled something that came directly from us as the owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
I like. Go ahead, bro. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry. I agree 100%. And it's funny, this is my fourth company I've started. And I think we had some like platitudinal values in my previous companies, but it wasn't really in the core who we were. But with Vintory, we started it, and it's a big part of our entire process. I actually learned this from Steve Schwab, where he says, look, this becomes your decision-making framework that you use, that you give to your team. So when they're looking to make a decision and you're not around, or their manager isn't around, they can use those values as their guidepost. And I thought that just like clicked with me, and I thought that was so good. And he incorporated that into his, in the early days, when he told a story about one of his team members thought he was making the right decision, and he was adamant about it. And then just to come find out it had nothing to do with what Steve would have done, so that's when he decided he really needed to build out those values as that framework to make decisions on. And I thought that was pretty cool. But one thing we do with Vintory, we're constantly reinforcing it, kind of like what Matt said, where you make that part of your review process, make it part of your compensation and bonuses. What we do is we do every other week, we do a all hands, we call it a brunch meeting, where everybody gets together and we do shout outs and kudos. And we always try to tie it back to one of the core values, if at all possible. So it helps that reinforcement of it, which I thought was cool. But there's a great quote by Sam Altman, former Y Combinator president, now obviously OpenAI. He says, hire for values first, aptitude second, and specific skills third. And we use that as part of our hiring process too.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to think about it. We'll go to the next one, Matt. I think you've already shouted it out a few times, but not implementing a true enterprise operating system like EOS across the company. So maybe you could give like a quick, even overview too, if you don't mind, of what EOS is, how it works, and how you've implemented it, and then why was that a mistake?
Yeah, it truly is the best, theory, framework, process, whatever word you want to coin on it. It's the best way that I have found to operate and run a business effectively, and instill accountability across your organization, as well as bring full transparency across each and every individual department. And it allows everyone to understand their goals and what success is of your organization. And everyone knows exactly where your company is going. And it also is it's going to show who does not care about your mission, who does not care about your company, and who really isn't going to be the right fit for your organization going forward. And I've still struggled on how to explain this, because it's not a software system. It's nothing that you can go out and purchase and tangibly touch, but it is a set of rules and principles on how you should run a company, each and every day, where you're tracking everything per each department, organization, team, week by week, every quarter, every year, and then going forward every 1, 3, 5, 10 year. And there's many ways to do it, where you can self-implement. You can really, Google EOS, go to EOS Worldwide to start there. You can, look up on all the different books to read. There are implementers you can hire, which we did, which can be very expensive. That's a 6-figure investment right there, but it's the best investment I've ever made. And it allows you to really set up your business from the top all the way down, and instill, through implementing as the implementer, we instilled our brand new leadership team, brand new values, brand new mission statement, one brand new business, 1, 3, 5-year plan. And it truly allowed me to stop working in the business, and actually has allowed me to work on the business. And I know that's the biggest thing that I've seen, especially as a business owner, is I was so caught up in the day-to-day for so long. And now I'm actually able to work and bring the value to the organization where I should be working with my strengths, because there's a lot of things that I do to my company that I dive in and mess up things that people are working on, et cetera. But now I can actually work on the big needle movers and strategic things of the company, and where I'm not working 80 hours a week. It just brings that true sense of accountability. And I know it's a long-winded answer, but it truly is a set framework of principles that if you just follow it like a diet and you truly believe in it and you get your staff to believe in it, you're going to see wonders just in the first 6 months of your business.
Yeah.
I think we joked before we hit record, Brooke. They owe us some commissions at this point over there, don't they?
I know. Yeah. I mean, this came up time and time again. I mean, I think it's like over like 9 or 10 times, this came up. And look, again, most people in the short-term vacation rental industry somehow just stumble to this business. They don't have experience running small businesses, or even they do, they don't have like it's by that legacy information, that legacy knowledge. I mean, Matt's got an MBA from one of the top business schools. Matt, did they teach you how to run a small business and how to do all these things? I mean, you probably learned more in EOS than you did from getting your MBA as far as real world,
absolute fact.
Yeah.
100%.
And what did Northrop Grumman pay for that MBA? Like, that's insane. Yeah. So yeah, it's an EOS is a heck of a lot cheaper than an MBA from a top business school for sure.
Yeah. No, that's great. And I think like I joke about it, but I think there's a reason why people are very drawn to this framework and this system, because it, like, as Matt attests to, it really can make everything from chaotic to, more calm and kind of productivity for sure. Number 6, I think, is an interesting one. This one did come up a few times, so I'd love to hear kind of your story on it for sure, Matt. You can't run your business effectively unless you take care of yourself physically and mentally. 80-hour weeks working that long only sets you up personally for failure long term, as it kind of creates this false standard for your team, your employees, your owners, that sort of thing. This kind of lifestyle will burn you out and make everyone think you're available 24/7. You also end up neglecting family and friends. So I don't want to dig too much into it, but if you don't mind kind of sharing your burnout story, if you have one, and how you've kind of adjusted things since then.
Yeah, when I was living in Baltimore, I was working full time. When I first started the business, I was going to grad school, which felt like full time. I was doing the vacation rentals full time. I'm engaged, owning. I have other investments, other properties I'm involved in. I would go to bed at night just with a throbbing head. I'd go to work. At work, luckily, I was in the sales team at different cycles. And so I would be working, on short-term rental, on business stuff, and things like that. Then I'd be going back to work. I'd get home, hours of grad school every night, not keeping up relationships with friends, not being able to talk to my friends, family, parents, brother. Most of all, not being able to be there for my fiance, girlfriend, now wife, because I'm constantly working. And you for me as an entrepreneur, I can really see the future. Like, hey, I know where this is going to pay off, but it's also unrealistic to cross all those folks out of your life. And it's unintentional. It's obviously not intentional, but there's only so much time in a day. And when you're waking up at 5 in the morning, you're not I used to go to the gym every single day. It was extremely regimented, extremely healthy. And then you add all these other complexities in, you start just passing those off as not a priority. And next thing I know, it was about a year straight of doing this for a year straight, 5 to going to bed at 12 to 1 to 2 in the morning. I mean, it was constant. And we then get into move. And it really didn't hit me until I left Northrop Grumman, finished with grad school, that how much I had been working. And I really looked back at that point and said, I had employees that were working 60, 70-hour weeks because I was. So my expectation was, I'm available, I'm on, like, I need you to respond to me, burned them out, and just wasn't there presently for anyone in my life, except when I needed something. Because, it was when I needed something, it was because I needed it now, versus not understanding how I'm actually affecting those folks around me, including family and friends. And when we moved to Texas to really build a business there, I wanted to do that differently. So I didn't make the same mistakes as I did with our Baltimore business. And I would say EOS has made a big change in that, but it really was a mindset shift where I knew that I had, not purposely, but just burned so many relationships, from a personal basis, because I let work get in the way of my personal life, not taking trips, not taking care of myself, and literally just working day in and day out. But the biggest problem that it let was to our customers. Our customers knew that they could call me at 7 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, holiday, my wife's birthday, you name it, and I would be available. And that's just not realistic. It sets your company up for failure. It sets you up for failure. It sets up your personal life for failure. But ultimately, you're letting your customers down, which is why we do this, right? It's to serve them and give them that value. And when you turn the switch the other way to say, hey, look, I'm actually not available any longer, you're going to lose that customer ultimately because you set the expectation that you were a 24/7 guy. And really the burnout got to me so much where I had to take a pause. It was, and I did do a reset, and I think EOS has been a big game changer for me not to go back to that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm. Brooke, this one did come up again and again, and the format was, not always exactly the same, or the formula, excuse me, I should say, is not always exactly the same, but the story was very similar ultimately.
Oh, yeah.
Where this came up over and over again, didn't it?
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting this actually, and then but it makes sense because I was in the same shoes too. But this actually ended up becoming our bonus section, was really just taking care of yourself and that mental well-being. And from Maureen Reagan, trying to do everything myself at all times. I'm not realizing I'm not the superwoman. Sarah Bradford said almost the same thing. Think I had to do it all. Be mom to twin baby boys, print owner checks, answer the phones, answer every email within an hour, and head up every initiative. Jed Stevens, I wish I started with better, boundaries for personal life. But yeah, this came up time and time again. And look, if you're not there, if you burn out and you crash, you're not doing yourself or your company or your employees or your customers any good. So you got to take care of yourself and set up those boundaries and set up those systems and processes.
Yeah, I've seen this happen to someone in my life where, they actually had the chance to sell the business, and then they sold it and they realized, wow, if I had actually had better, healthier boundaries, I could have actually operated it a lot longer, but I burned myself out. And then when I had a chance to sell it and get rid of it, I did that. So I actually think you make more money long-term by having all these boundaries that you talked about, Matt, because you can do it more in a sustainable way. It's not this kind of firework, that burns brightly and then just kind of dies off, which can sometimes happen in these types of scenarios. So yeah. Awesome. Okay, well, let's kind of turn the page a little bit into this is kind of a different one. So it's great to see this go the direction here. All right, so not networking enough or speaking at enough conferences. Your network is your net worth, which I think I've heard Brooke say that before too. So yeah, what kind of got you into that initially, going to conferences and things like that? And what benefits have you seen from kind of clearing up that mistake from previous times?
Yeah, conferences for me I've been going to them since 2017. And I remember the first 3 or 4, I learned more in the first 3 or 4 than I could even have ever learned in a year in the business. Just all of the theory, all of the problems that everyone's faced. I mean, if you just look at a VRMA international conference agenda, you can go there if you want to get in the business for the first time. That's an amazing place to start to literally just learn. And after learning and trial and error, I remember after me to go to conference, I'm sitting in the front row, I'm listening to some of the top and best product managers across the country, and I would go right up to them, just question after question after question. And the first times I was always a little nervous, like, oh, are they going to even want to talk? Folks in this industry are so willing to help and give advice and to just be there for one another. And when I really wanted to start speaking in 2019 and through 2020, and to really get on there to give back and to really start talk about all the problems that I've had and that I've experienced, that I can give back and provide those solutions so that people don't have to maybe go through those certain things. But I've always made it a priority after I speak, after I go to a conference, et cetera, that I have people come up to me. I want to make sure I'm there for everyone for as long as I can be, with how many people that need help with questions. And that's truly why I wanted to start speaking again, and to really start getting into this industry to speaking, is because all the people that I listened to that helped me, and I want to give back to those people as well.
Mm-hmm. I know, Brooke, this one did come up a few times with respect to like conferences and things like that, but not a lot of people maybe that we've had so far have been actually on the speaking side, but it's great to get back, right? Ultimately, that's one of the amazing things about this industry. And I've noticed that too at events, is that people sit at a table at a VRMA and they help each other. One happens to be in Texas and California, but they're actually talking about the same thing, aren't they? In many cases.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things with this industry I think is pretty unique, where everybody really does help each other out. I've I haven't seen it in other industries. Like I said, I was in mortgage banking before, and very rarely did I see this kind of interaction, collaboration happen. So it's pretty special. And it's funny, we actually have a partner who's very sharp, great partner, great business. But he's an introvert. And I remember asking him, like, if he goes to VRMA and conferences and things like that, he's like, oh no, like kind of like discounting it. And it's, look, I'm like, man, it's not necessarily just listening at the sessions. You know what I mean? Like, most of the best learning lessons I've had is, 11 o'clock at night, sitting at the bar with Matt, grabbing a beer and chatting about things, or, you know what I mean? Walking down the hallway. It's like, that's where the deals are made. That's where the learning lessons, the real learning lessons in my mind, come from. Obviously there's a lot of information, in sessions, but, it's the networking that really is there. And shout out actually to Alex Houston with Casago for that quote, though. Yeah, your net worth is your network, so.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of logic in that. And it's always people that are going to help you along the way too. You have a hiccup or a problem, or, oh, I need a recommendation, I need a referral. Those people tend to help you out as well, that you meet at these conferences, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's head on over to number 8. So not holding team members accountable due to fear of not finding the right employees within a tourism market where talent can be a little bit thin. This can drastically affect culture and spread like cancer throughout your organization. So, kind of finding the team members, we've kind of touched on it here and there, but this is a very specific problem, isn't it, Matt? Finding people, in your market. What's kind of been your learnings here, and how do you end up finding the right people when you're restricted geographically to a smaller area?
Yeah, it's been a big pain point for us over the years, and I feel like we've definitely solved it. But when you allow the wrong person to be in the wrong seat, that negativity spreads like a cancer, and then it spreads into folks into your organization who are great fits. They're in the right seat. They're a great employee, great team member. But now that negativity is spread because you have someone who's in the wrong seat. And again, coming from a position of fear, you don't want to let go of that one person who is causing the negativity, because, man, how am I going to replace that job? And what I've learned is everyone's replaceable, everyone, including myself. I'm very confident to say that if I got hit by a bus tomorrow because of EOS, our company would still be running, thriving, and would be operating at its full potential, even without me there. And that's what is really rewarding to know, because everything has now been transferred down. But when it comes to those wrong people, it's critical that you make the decision sooner than later. I've found that you better rip that Band-Aid off sooner. Do not wait. It only makes things worse. So rip that off sooner, and you'll get through it. It will be tough. 36 hours of fear, as Brooks mentioned, you name it. You're going to get through it, and you're actually going to be better and stronger because of it. And you're going to know why and not to make mistakes, but you also know who should be the right person now in that role. You have such a great understanding of who we actually need to put in that role. But when it does come down to the tourism markets, we break out every job that comes up that's available. We say, can we have someone do this job remotely, or does it have to be physically in person? Operations hands-on, and we try to divvy out every single role with that. And that's really helped us understand just the requirements of each job. But then when we go in to hire the right person, we know that we pay better. We know that we have the right benefits, and our culture now that we have set up throughout our company is invaluable, where people actually want to work here, and they want to be bought into our mission, and they want to truly work for a company who actually cares and gives back versus just a job. And it took me a long time to figure that some people will just want a job, but some people truly want to work somewhere not only they can grow, but where they actually enjoy and are happy to come to work. And it's really hard for people to understand that from the outside, but from the inside, we know that is the big determinant. And people say all the time, oh, we're in such a bad hiring market, et cetera. I just don't believe that. And we're all pulling from the same talent pool, but it's how you treat your people and making this a great place to work that makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, we've touched on team a few times, Brooke, but I think this one is ultimately it's another layer deeper. The problem that Matt's describing here, because a lot of people say that sort of thing. Oh, it's so hard to find talent here. But as Matt's sharing with us, if you treat people the right way, I actually bet. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt. Do people currently on your team actually refer you new employees frequently? Like they're like, oh yeah, come work with me. Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, and that tells you that you're on the right path for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And anything to add there, Brooke, or does that kind of sum it up well?
No, it sums it up. Well said.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's go over to number 9. Like this one a bit too. This one has come up, I think, a few times, but it's ultimately kind of like there's the mechanics of like knowing what should be done, then there's the gut reaction, piece. So let's go through this one. Not listening to your intuition when you knew something wasn't right, or when you knew you should have pulled the trigger on a decision. I think we've kind of touched on this a few times, Matt, on a periphery level, but I guess your thoughts on trusting your gut and knowing that you are in fact the right decision maker inside the company.
Correct. It's really just trusting your gut, and knowing that by making a decision moving forward, we're at least moving forward. We're not just waiting and waiting and waiting. We're going to, whether it's the right decision, wrong decision, it's having intuition of make the decision, take the action to make a decision, knowing that something is not right. And we all know that that decision is going to probably take care of the problem that you knew you had to take care of, and your intuition was right. But then there's going to be a whole set of variables that we didn't consider that are going to come out of the blue that we now have to tackle. But at least we're making progress forward, and to truly just have when you have that intuition, to follow it and to truly trust that, that especially as an owner level, that we're guiding the company and our team in the right direction.
I guess the way I think about this a little bit is like, I think this is a Jeff Bezos thing where very few doors are one-way doors. So very few doors are ones where like you go through that, make that decision, and then it's like, oh God, I can't reverse it. Like that's an irreversible decision. Most decisions are what he calls are two-way doors. You could go make that decision, trust your gut. And then if you were wrong, which you're probably not wrong, but every once in a while you might be wrong, you could just walk back through the door and then undo that decision. So I don't know if this exact one came up, but I like this one, Brooke. I don't know if you wanted to have anything else.
No, yeah, it definitely came up all the time. I mean, I think CJ brought it up. Always trust your gut, but it's a quote that we use all the time with Vintory. It's a bias for action, right? Mm-hmm. Slow down the big decisions, speed up the rest. And but yeah, that trust and intuition is pretty important to make sure you stick with it. But yeah, came up all the time.
Yeah. And you typically will have the most information. You and other leadership people inside of a company have the most information. So generally better to trust that too, is kind of my leanings towards that, because you have, typically a lot more context than other people. All right. So let's round us out here. Number 10, like this one came up a few times. Would love to hear your story on it, Matt, because I think every new business owner needs to hear this, because they think, oh, I can do thing 1 and thing 2 and thing 3 and thing 15. And of course we all can't. So shiny object syndrome, I like how it's capitalized here as well. Like it's a proper noun. Going after business ideas or opportunities that are not within your core scope of business. What's the story here, Matt? We'd love to hear it.
Yeah, it's been one of my biggest weaknesses over the last 2 years. I've really, really reined this in. The core that you think about is as a vacation rental property manager, hospitality professional, what do you do better than anyone else? And it's sticking to that. What we do better than anyone else is getting a property rented, getting it to be held at a high quality of standards, ensuring a great guest experience and an amazing owner experience. That's what we focus and we excel at. Why are we focusing on growing a lawn care company over here? Why are we focusing on growing our maintenance business over here? Why are we starting a hot tub and pool services company? Why are we doing that? Because it's I see that as another line of business that we're doing, but it's getting away from the core functions of what we're great at. That might be something that we're doing internal as a requirement to ensure a great guest and owner experience. But why are we now, and why do I own cozyservices.com, where I'm going to go and create this ultimate services company, 2.5 years ago, that's so far away from our vacation rental business of what we're really, really great at. And it truly is reining yourself in. And I think getting to the point to know that being able to say that this is just a shiny light bulb syndrome, I am not going to be pursuing this, has been a level that I've been able to achieve over the last 2 years. Whereas before it's like, let's really hunt this down. Let's filter this out. And you spend 3 or 4 months in this whole business idea, but it doesn't even relate to your core principles. And now you've got to go and hire and et cetera. But you've pulled your staff in different directions of where we don't focus on that. It's not what we do. We're not great at that business. Instead of, being, jack of all trades, master of none, let's be the master literally of one. Let's focus on what our biggest strength is and why we have been successful and what truly drives our revenue and the value to our customers.
Yeah. This one came up a lot, Brooke, but I guess we've all, is this just one of those things where you have to like feel the pain first of going through this and then you learn better on the other side? Can we save someone maybe who's
I
listening?
mean, look, every entrepreneur has this disease. It's just, but by the third or fourth business you start, you finally realize like you got to get rid of it. It's kind of like Warren Buffett's quote: the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. Or if you want to go back all the way to Confucius, the man who chases two rabbits catches neither. And it came up time and time again. I mean, I think it's so funny, like the parallels here, Matt, with you, like Justin Ford, he said investing heavily in ancillary amenities. At one point, we had over 30 boat rentals, a baby gear rental division, and did grocery provisioning. We realized we could make more income and save time by adding just 2 properties, into our rental program. And it's like, and then again, this just came up, Dustin Abney, letting yourself get distracted by shiny object syndrome. Stay true to your niche or focus. If it's not an F yes, it's probably a no. I thought that was so good. So
yeah, there's one person listening though, Matt, that heard that and heard your version of Brooke and is going to be like, let me say no to something. So it was worth doing that one, even though we may have to say it a few times. And I think we all have to get burned by it. My take on that is that at certain scale, you need to get rid of that. But early on, it might actually be a useful thing to have, maybe initially when you just don't know what you're good at. But then once you find something that's working, then you got to double down for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, anything else, Matt, that we didn't cover that you might want to, kind of share or impart wisdom on, or should we put a bow on this one? And
no, I mean, there's a lot more, failures and success. I think the only tip I have is just truly be open to fail. I would say without these mistakes and through this entire, this isn't just a job or a career. I mean, this is a journey that I'm on. And without all the failures and the people like Brooke, even like yourself, Connor, that I've met and worked with, I wouldn't be where I am, nor would my company. And so embrace those failures and embrace that journey, and know that you're going to come back from that. And there's going to be plenty of, 36 hours of hell numerous times, and just embrace it and learn from it.
Yep. Right on. Anything else, Brooke, that we should share with the listener here, or should we put a bow on this one?
Yeah, well, let me ask the question I always kind of rounded out.
Yes.
But Matt, so if you could go back and give your 25-year-old self any advice, what would it be?
I know we touched on this several times, already through this interview, and going back to my 25-year-old self, and in the future, I will never, ever, it doesn't matter, my undergrad, grad school, corporate experience, everything I've ever done, I will never, ever start a business ever again. Doesn't matter if it's 2 employees, 4 employees, 6, 100. I will never, ever go down this path again without beginning the framework of that company and building it out through the principles and systems of EOS.
Wow.
If I would have known that from the very beginning, it would have saved me, immense amount of failures and headaches that I'm thankful for from learning those the hard way. But it could have easily prevented that. And I think for my 25-year-old self, that's what I would have really wish I had known.
Would you rather have the EOS than your MBA?
100%. I would say without a doubt. And I got halfway through my MBA, and my wife and I said, I'm quitting. I'm done. The business is doing so well. I was going to focus on that. She said, you are going to finish this. You got this far. And so I'm thankful for her that she kept me in it. But if I had known of EOS at that time and how valuable it would have been to our success, I would have immediately probably quit my MBA and focused on that full time.
This podcast brought to you by EOS.
Right. I'll get a sponsor read. No, but I think that's a great note to end on for sure, Matt, because ultimately, that's the specific implementation. But if people just go read the book and kind of understand what it is, it's really about, like you said, operational excellence, right? It's like each department, here's what they need to be doing. We're keeping track of it. And then here's where we're going. Here's how we make our decisions. So, there's, I guess, slightly different ways of implementing it, but the core ideas are super valuable. And I think you've had a lot of success with them, of course, which is awesome to watch and be a part of a little bit as well. All right. Well, we can put a bow on this one, I think. Thanks, Matt, for your time. We really super duper appreciate it. We'll certainly, if you're certainly going to Fredericksburg, definitely check out Cozy Vacation Rentals, cozyvr.com, because they have amazing properties, and they can definitely take care of you in an awesome way. So thank you guys for listening. We appreciate it, and we will catch you on a future recording.
Great.